too damn cold.
Deal with it, you sniveling snot bag. You're like a weak little sapling in the middle of a powerful forest of towering trees that could smash you with just one branch.
You went on too long there. You could have just said deal with it and I would have gotten the message.
Let it be me, mighty Koda, that gives his life for peace. Let it be me that dies for balance. Let it be me that rejoins with nature, knowing that I have fought and sacrificed for that which I believe. For such is the journey of a warrior. Such is the path of the Claw. The Claw is the outward face of leadership among the Kodan. Chosen for their charisma, strength at arms, and public leadership potential, it is the Claw's duty to tend to the day-to-day running of the sanctuary, as well as its safety. They move openly through the sanctuary and maintain a small group of guardians whose purpose is to defend the sanctuary and to interfere in rare disputes among the populace. The Claw is essentially the ruler of the sanctuary to those who do not fully understand the Kodan culture. However, maintaining the sanctuary's peace is only one of the duties of the Claw. A second is far more important, to serve as the intermediary between Voice and the people of the sanctuary, to help interpret and carry out the will of Koda. The Voice's purpose keeps him sheltered from the outside world, and it is the duty of the Claw to be the link between the Voice and the sanctuary, between the people and the channel to the will of their god. The Kodan believe that the fates of the Claw and the Voice are linked, symbolically and mystically entwined with one another and within the sanctuary. Any failure on the part of one taints the other, and must be purified in both. Therefore, a Claw takes his duties seriously, realizing that if he fails, he has not only brought harm to himself or his people, but also to the Voice, and therefore the very spirit and soul of the sanctuary. Well, welcome back, guys. Bonus part 5? 6? Instead of rushing back to ore as soon as possible, which is what Caraflower really should be doing. I love this armor, man. She feels so, like, cool in it. I don't know. Instead of doing that, and from the high of just beating another dungeon, we're actually going to stick about in Frostgorge today. This is kind of a skippable episode, but it's a really exciting one. What I want to do is show you the third and final big meta from Core Guild Wars 2.
Some are likely injured and will need help getting back to shore.
So essentially, what we've seen so far is a dragon champion in the brand with the Shatterer. Tyrix saw that. Bract saw a dragon champion in Sparkfly Fen to Quattle the Sunless. Caraflower is going to meet a dragon champion here on the wave. So kind of as a bonus, we want to take revenge on the bastard that started sinking that sanctuary back there on the waves, and we're going to see how it goes. So just like before with the other big dragon champion metas, before it spawns, you'll see we're in the area of the meta right now, breaking the Claw of Jormag. Before it spawns, I do want to do a little bit of exploration around the map. See, we came to Frostgorge for this dungeon. It's a huge map. Look at all this area we haven't explored. There's tons to do, and we will have our opportunities. But in particular, I want to linger with Kodan-centric stuff right now, while Kodan is lore is what we're thinking of more than anything else, and we'll actually find there's a lot of places where refugees from the sanctuary are hiding, even nowhere near the dungeon.
Some are likely injured and will need help getting back to shore.
So we can start here by speaking to this character. Honor of the Waves is sinking, and there are survivors still struggling against the waves of Watchful Fjord. If you can help in any way, what happened? One of Jormag's lieutenants, a powerful ice dragon, attacked our sanctuary. It tore through the hull like so much paper, and in the aftermath, the Claw and the Voice are among the missing. So, the big dragon in the area is called the Claw of Jormag. Try not to get that confused with the title some Kodan give one of their leaders, the Claw, right, of their sanctuaries. It's kind of weird that the Kodan name one of their leaders Claws, and Jormag has done something similar here. But we'll say we'll gladly help. Thank you. The survivors may be injured and in need of aid. Others may be under attack by Icebreed even now, who helps appreciate it. So yeah, that's that character there called Many Stars. The Kodan have such cool names as well, right? If we come up here, we'll actually find that there's a scout who will tell us a little bit more about the area. God, this snow is so good. And we'll actually find a lot of these characters nearby, even some Quaggan.
Search the waters for castaways. Some are likely injured and will need help getting back to shore.
That's a Quaggan village. Mosh Poi Poi. What a beautiful sounding Quaggan village that is. Her dialogue volume was really low. What does she have to say here? Mosh Poi Poi is being overrun by Icebrood. Please help the Quaggans. Sorry, but we have more important things to do right now. So yeah, check out this scout. Let's see what he has to say.
A great storm gathers in the north as Jormag and the Icebrood sweep across the land. The Pact has drawn a line in the snow, but I fear even they cannot hold back the Elder Dragon. For Grey Sojourn and our brethren at the Path of Starry Skies, time grows short.
Oh, okay, cool. It seems like she's describing the meta more than she is the hearts. So, this boss is called the Claw of Jormag. That was abbreviated by the community at launch to just be Jormag. They'd be like, oh, I'm going to go kill Jormag. I'm gonna try and get a precursor drop for my legendary heart crafting or whatever. Let's go fight Jormag. I'm doing Jormag. So there was kind of an irritating period for maybe a year or two after the game came out.
Nets overflowing with fish.
You're making me hungry.
Where most of the community seemed to make no distinction or understanding between the difference of an Elder Dragon and its champion. That wasn't a problem when it came to Zaitan and Tequatl the Sunless, or Kraukatoric and the Shatterer. But because Jormag made the Claw of Jormag, people got confused. So let's try and be clear about that here. So yeah, this is a little Kodan outpost, and there's a ton of different characters we can actually speak to. I'm going to go just in a ring around. So first of all, we've got Shallow Thunder. The dragons pursue us even here in the south, crossing air, land, and sea. See how he says plural dragons? They understand there's more than one, even though they're being pressured by one.
Reach the morning.
Our safety is a fleeting dream, so long as their corruption follows us. Good luck. One of the other places I'd love to go in this episode, but we're not going to because it's too far away, is there is another sanctuary really far off. And if you do the heart there, you get to really dig into the Kodan and their riddles and their perspective on life, which just seems so strange and weird. All in due time, though, guys.
I thought my usefulness had ended.
I understand. For the first time, I questioned my own faith.
Yet here we are, still fighting to maintain balance. It's remarkable.
There are still survivors adrift in the water. We must help them.
That guy's called Rumbling Fall. It's kind of self-indulgent of them to pat themselves on the back, right? What they're doing is saying we're refugees and yet we're helping anyway, right? And kind of looking for credit, maybe.
I like making sauce out of them to put on roasted meat.
Maybe it'll go well on fish, too.
We should try it.
I like these guys just talking about food and berries and things. That's fantastic. So what else we got here? We got Grateful Smile. Hello.
The answers lie hidden around you.
Well, do they now? You're very skinny. Aren't you cold? Perhaps you should eat some whale blubber. Perhaps. What would Sawari enjoy about whale blubber, I wonder? Or I could ask you a question or two. Asking questions is how we learn. I'm pleased to add to your knowledge. Carrotflower kind of has come out on one of the most extreme adventures of all of our characters. Coming all the way out here. But it's so fitting, right? Like, she came to the Priory and the Shiver Peaks before, and now she comes back again. I like it a lot. She went to Holbrook for a while. Where do you come from? I was born in a sanctuary called Morning Frost. It was a magnificent citadel, made of ice and snow, and floating upon the frozen sea. But Jormag's minions dragged it under, and I was stranded here. Wow, okay. Jormag's minions are attacking your floating ice citadels? Our sanctuaries, yes. They claw at them from below, burrow through the inner ice into our sanctums, and they kill, or try to kill, anyone they encounter. Our young are especially vulnerable. It's not just Zaitan that can kind of attack from the sea in this way, it seems. Do you know why Jormag has awakened? We have a theory. Okay, so this is a really cool line, alright? So try and remember this. Why is Jormag awakened according to the Kodan, who believe in balance? We have a theory. We believe that all the dragons have awakened at the same time in order to redress a terrible imbalance in the world. So they didn't really awaken all within the exact same time. It was like there was, a period of over 100 years about that they're steadily waking up. But I guess if you pull the time scale out enough, they do feel like they woke up at the same time. So wait, they're trying to address a terrible imbalance in the world. I don't understand. They destroy, it's what they do. We must ask ourselves, what in our world has gotten so out of balance that they had to awaken to counterbalance it? This is a really nice line that definitely is an explicit look from the writers saying, hey, think about this. And as the story goes along, there will be a very express answer to this question that defines really the entire franchise. Like this line you're looking at here, one of the devs was asked to like sum up what Guild Wars 2's story is, all expansions, all Living World seasons, and essentially the answer to this question is what that dev said. So, think about what we know about Zaitan. I won't lay it on the table immediately, though. It could be pretty obvious to a lot of you guys right now, because the plot will deal with that as we go forward. I like how on the ball the Kodan seem as well with that. Or it could just be their perspective as believing there needs to be balance everywhere, right? It would make sense that one of the races, out of all these different societies in this world, one of them would be onto something. Icy Gale. I am happy to see other races here. We welcome all allies to our cause. What cause is that? The world is in crisis. Surely you've seen that yourself. We are determined to cleanse the world of its disease. Having the support of the other races is crucial. We can lead you back to security. Didn't you just lose your home? Yes, and thank you for pointing it out. This does not change the fact that we must gather our allies to us and guide them toward a rebalancing of the world's energies. Okay, so listen, you've heard a lot of code and lore over these videos. I'm just going to say, I think they're extremely presumptuous and potentially an antagonistic species within this world. But I kind of love them for that. They could just as easily be allies, but they're so judgmental. You know, you hear that lore about how they believe in reincarnation, but everyone is just what they are. And if you're not Kodan, you're not enlightened enough. By birth, you're not enlightened enough, and you're more primitive than them. And it's their position to judge. Like, these are dangerous things to believe about the world, and they could easily be set on the wrong course. And just like, they're kind of gross in a lot of ways. They're really horrible. There was that line we saw in one of the ambient dialogue pieces in one of these videos where a Kodan is speaking to a Quaggan.
Nets overflowing with fish.
You're making me hungry.
And he calls the Quaggan wise, but then basically says, yeah, but I'm here to help you. You know, it's just so presumptuous. And I mean, I love them as a fantasy race, but in terms of do I like them as a person, you know, they're scary. I think they're really scary. I'd love to play as them one day, you know, as a playable race. Look at you, brave adventurer. I sit here, despondent, because we Kodan have lost home, hearth, art, and peace. And yet you keep on fighting. You can bring much with you, I guess? No. Jormag's monsters hit us so fast, those who survived are lucky we got away with anything more than hair and tail. Some lost their lives' work. Some lost their soulmates. Many just lost their lives. Tragic. It is very sad. I like that the Kodan are kind of like, they're a newcomer to this region of the world, right? They come down and they're kind of saying, oh, we're here to save you, blah, 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 blah. It's kind of a beautiful thing that in a weird way that it's Caraflower meeting them and talking to them, because she's Sylvari. And Sylvari, like the Elder Dragons, have just kind of sprung up. And they care a lot about fighting the dragon. At least Zaitan, you know, the Pale Trees like really organize them towards that. Traherne's organized towards that. People like Kaith are getting wild hunts to kill Elder Dragons. You know, there's this big thing with the Sylvari too. They're very similar to the Kodan in a way, except they're more young and naive, and they don't necessarily have those years of presumption behind them. So that worm is sieging us. And they have some pretty incredible range. So yeah, I've got quite a checklist of things I want us to see before we do the big meta event here. They're all largely around in the north. You've got these refugees patrolling away from one of the waves. And in fact, one of the places we're about to go is exactly one of the outposts where we'll see them. But here, you may notice some pretty sincere-looking packed weaponry aimed out across this like mountainy plateau with not much going on. Well, yeah, this is actually where we're going to be dealing with the boss. So, kind of exciting to get a lay of the land while things are still peaceful here for now. And you can see some of the pact that are standing around. So, first we have Crusader Ian.
Some must fight, so that all may be free.
It's a human all the way out here. One of those dragons will land eventually, and when it does, we'll be ready. The key is constant vigilance. Never let it out of your sight. So I don't know if looking in the sky we can see the claw flying around, similar to how you could see the Shatterer flying around, or you can see tons of dragons flying around in awe. Maybe it only appears when the meta's going on. Sounds like you have some experience with these things, we say. He says, I've watched the dragons fly for months, analysing their patterns, noting every detail. I almost know their movements better than my own. With dedication, good luck. Who else we got? We got Pact Researcher Darren. If you're headed north, be careful. The mountains aren't as inviting as they once were. Sounds like you know a lot about this place. I came here when they started construction several years ago, long before the Pact. Wait, so whose construction? These hills and valleys are so familiar, they're like family. And now Jormag and his minions threaten everything. Gotcha, thanks. And then we also have a member of the Order of Whispers here, Agent Henley.
May Grant shield you.
Hey, have all the flak cannons been checked over? We can't afford... Wait, you're not one of the technicians. Sorry, what can I do for you? Flak cannons? That sounds like great for fighting dragons. Yeah, we needed something to scare them out of the air. And once they're down, we got a whole array of guns, grenades, and golems to really get things going. The 3 Gs, I like to call them. I'm impressed. That's a powerful armory. Hey, thanks. I had to pull almost every string I've got to get everything together, but in the end, we should have all the supplies we need to take these things out. We even have bomb golems. Great work. Okay, so we hear a lot of mechanics of the fight that's upcoming. I like the idea that you had to pull a lot of strings. It was difficult because it's hard to justify a large offensive in a remote area of the world like this, but it's against the Elder Dragons, so Chahern believes it. Now, there's this vendor here, okay? His badass looking guy kneeling down. So this is an important dude for legendary weapon crafting. I've talked about how you need to get precursor weapons to make legendaries. And you can either get a lucky drop for a pre. So say this dragon we're going to kill today in this meta event, we might get a lucky drop and just get a precursor. And that's what a lot of people used to chance on. Nowadays, you can also do legendary weapon crafting and do collections and adventures around the world to get precursors, which, you know, we've been looking at as the series has gone along. But getting a precursor is just one small part of making a legendary. You've got to do lots of other things. One of them involves beating this boss and speaking to this vendor. So at launch, this guy who says, "Now I see, Jormag's power is folly, and I will use it to see him undone." You used to not be able to get this dialogue unless it was immediately after having beaten this meta event here. And then you could say, "Teach me," and you'd get this special vendor, and he'd sell you recipes for corrupted weapons, which is kind of a special endgame skin set. But he'd also sell you these rune stones. Can you see how they cost a gold each? That's pretty expensive, and especially for launch economies, that's very expensive. Essentially, to make a legendary weapon, players would have to collect 100 of these. So they'd have to spend straight up 100 gold. And in the earliest economies, that was a huge part of making a legendary. It's much less of one now because of inflation and stuff. A lot of the stuff you had to gather to get legendaries had value, but it was value defined by the player base. It was stuff that interacted with the trading post and would fluctuate a lot. But this was one of the very select places where the devs basically said, no, we're defining the amount of gold it will cost. We're going to create and set the bar for the gold sink, and they set that to 100 gold, which meant at launch, this part was really, really expensive compared to the rest, but now it's really cheap compared to the rest. Kind of fun. But yeah, so there's getting precursors, but also coming here and beating this dragon. It wasn't true for the Shatterer. It wasn't true for Quarter the Sunless. It is true for the Claw of Jormag here, and it would unlock him. In the intervening years, the devs have updated this so that this guy's always standing here and always kneeling, and you lose the extra context. But since we're walking through, I'll show you him now. So yeah, moving along, we got more aspects of the battlefield, by the way. It's a really cool fight. The other two champions were updated over the years. Like, Quarter had a big overhaul I talked about. The Shatterer had a big overhaul I talked about. This one, they've never overhauled. Presumably because they think it was good enough right on release. And it's a very complicated, cool fight, definitely. So here, check it out. We got more cannons, different variety this time. These ones seem pretty Char influenced. Lots of vigil around. These guys don't want to talk to us. But they've got everything set up. That's good. Refugees just constantly patrolling on the roads. That's the Trionic Lattice there. And then also we've got a choice. We can go back towards this encampment here, Earthshake, which I deliberately got that waypoint in before we did the dungeon before. Or we can go north. I'm going to go north now, where there is a heart very, 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 very far away. Like, at release Guild Wars 2, basically the most northern heart in the entire game. And it's to do with some Kodan up here, who explicitly are Kodan from Honor of the Waves. Seriously. So they are, it says help shifting waves, that'll be the name of one of the heart guy, to protect the Kodan at Path of Starry Skies. Well, let's move up and see what we got. Now, the Ice Breed will be pretty dangerous, so I'm going to kill my way there, and I'll see you in a sec. Check it out, here we are. First of all, I'll note this. So this is a mining node. We've obviously seen bronze. We've seen like iron nodes. We've seen mithril nodes. We've seen gold and silver as we've gone through. This here is an extremely rare one. It's an orichalcum node. Orichalcum is the ultimate, most end game metal that you can find and gather around the world for the launch game. There's only a couple of these that would spawn around Tyria every day. There was a couple in this map, and this is one of them, and then there are a couple in the end game ore maps, and that was it. There was also one in World vs. World, but we haven't really talked about that very much. So yeah, it was very rare and could sell for a lot in the early days. I have a lot of very early memories of bringing characters up here in Frostgorge just to gather this and then move on with my life afterwards. We don't actually have the capability to grab it, unfortunately. So yeah, but that's orichalcum, and most of the end game recipes we're requiring these. Mostly you find like mithril in these maps, but in a couple of very special places you find orichalcum. And yeah, that's a big part of Guild Wars. Now you know what that is. So we've covered omnon berries, orichalcum, And maybe there'll be some other ones we do as we go forwards. I'll point them out as they come along. So check it out. We've got these guys. We're at a place called Path of Starry Skies, and that's just what this camp has been named. But the Kodan who are at this camp are from...
slow the ice-brewed assault. Will you be willing to help us?
Are from Honor of the Waves.
Koda's blessings upon you.
We came to this place seeking refuge, but we've only found more danger. Now we're cut off, fighting for our very survival. How can I help? Strike down the ice brood, destroy corrupted crystals, help the wounded, and protect those who are trying to escape. Anything necessary to safeguard the area. This guy, Grey Sojourn,
things in the end will find balance.
she says, welcome to the path of starry skies. Like our wisdom, our fire is open to you, if you wish to partake of it. Why are you so far from your sanctuary? As we speak, Honor of the Waves slips slowly beneath the sea. We know we cannot stop it. The Claw sent us to seek a place of refuge. Others will follow. Literally, the guy we spoke to in the dungeon. I mean, I really like this connectedness here. And you chose this place? Yes. The stars shine brightly here. They give us hope. We will be safe here for now. But Jormag's shadow is long, and no one's safety is assured. I like the idea of the stars shining brightly when you're in really remote mountain areas. I saw this map online a while ago of a map of Europe based on how dark the nights are, and it's essentially a map representing how far away from large cities and human civilization you can go to get away from light pollution. And it kind of showed that no matter where you are in the UK, unless you go really far up north in Scotland, you basically never get really good dark nights, and it's very rare even on the European mainland too. So I envy these Kodan, even though they've got a lot of other things they're struggling with. So you get a heart. There's this event here as well where basically go to a little ice cave nearby. And I'm not sure. I thought there was a little bit more dialogue. I do think it's cool, though, to point this out. There you go. This guy here, Bristling Pine. I don't think I spoke to you, right? I do think it's cool that they get that little connection to the dungeon.
My help.
We're not set up yet to provide much hospitality to travelers such as you. You must forgive our state of disorganization. We've only just begun rebuilding here. Where did you come from? We come from the great North Seas, from the frost itself, and the peaks of Honor of the Waves, our sanctuary. We're refugees now, cast out into the world to make amends. You're making a new home, right? Yes. Our snowcallers are using their magic to fortify the path here and to build structures. Our backs are strong. We will survive and lead races like yours to peace. The dungeon was interesting because it had a lot of like elementalist magic that was usually themed around different elements become frosty. Like lightning whip became like an icy whip, and there was a frosty meteor shower and stuff. I wonder if that's the idea of, and it wasn't all Kodan using that, but I wonder if the devs had an idea that that's what snow magic is and that these people are particularly good at. So anyway, let's come back down here to Earthshake. So this is kind of the big camp where I think you're supposed to get some information about the Claw in the meta. The meta event kind of starts near here. Unfortunately, though, and you guys have heard a lot of the ambient dialogue here already in the series, unfortunately, they seem to be missing, like, some key basic NPC that provides general information. So you kind of can't get that much great detail here. There's this Char with a very cool scythe staff you'll see, and this weird thing called an elemental sprite with a weird icon. That's to do with future stories after launch, so we can't talk to them yet. And there are a few interesting things. There was a lot of dialogue I heard here that isn't actually on the Guild Wars 2 wiki as well, which was kind of cool. These guys talk about the ascension of the Kodan, basically.
Is there trouble?
And talk about them as being like divine. But let's see. So this guy's called Hunting by Moonlight. I have much respect for your organization's leader, Traherne. The Sylvari have proved to be wise beyond their years. Check it out. See the comparison. Why aren't you helping the other Kodan? You misunderstand. By fighting with the Pact, I am slaying the ice brood that are attacking our sanctuaries, thus helping my people. So Pact member, or a Kodan member of the Pact. Is there a reason you're at this Pact camp? Elder's Vale is the first line of defense against Jormag's minions. It seemed the best place to lend my support. Good thinking. Take care. We got a Quag in here as well. Didn't have any dialogue for us. Up here we can speak to the Order of Whispers, and you learn a little bit about their involvement of this area of the world.
There's darkness afoot in the world.
You don't look like you're here to deliver...
Quaggan is here to do what Quaggan can.
Huh. I didn't realize you were a warrior.
The Char is so discriminating. Brilliant. Sorry, back over here.
Fight what cannot be fought.
You don't look like you're here to deliver supplies or reports. Unless I miss my guess, you're Carraflower, right? I'd heard you might show up round here. You need something? Look at this, they know us. Why is the Order interested in things so far up north? The Order's interested in everything. Stella and I, and Stella's her dog, by the way, have been up here monitoring Jormag's progress for a long time now. It's been rough, and it's only getting worse. I'd like to think she was like companions with that other human we saw before. Looks like the Vigil and Priory are here too. Sure, the Vigil had this place first, but it was manned by a skeleton crew. I alerted the crew and the Priory about Jormag's efforts here, and now it's a proper base. Seems like it was dull until then. Monitoring minions is dangerous work, plenty of fighting, and Stella's been great company. I also took up knitting. Don't laugh. This far north, it's a survival skill. Okay, touche. So yeah, and then if we speak to the dog, it just says, Stella looks at you happily. Good girl. So that's nice. What have we got over here as well? I think this guy had some interesting dialogue, but only if you remember the Order of Whispers. Let's see. It's eerie knowing the Claw is so near. So he's one of the only guys that really talks about the meta boss before we fight it. So the Claw, he's not talking about a Kodan Claw, he's talking about the Claw of Jormag. With the Kodan on our side, let's hope we can destroy the indestructible. Nothing's indestructible, we say. And he says, not once you know its weaknesses. We're doing our best to find just that. Glad to hear it. And our other option is the Claw won't last long with a pact on its tail. He says, not once we know its weaknesses. Now, if I was a member of the Order of Whispers, and I'm not, but I'll give you guys the trivia, we could say, what have you learnt? Do you know the unknowable or whatever? And that tips him off that we're a member. And what he'll actually do is he'll say that champions are special minions. And as far as he can tell, it's because they're hand-picked by the Elder Dragon themselves. So the Shatterer was hand-picked by Kralkatorrik at some point. Tequatl the Sunless was hand-picked. The Claw of Jormag was hand-picked. And it's kind of cool to see like that there's one degree of separation between us and an Elder Dragon when we're fighting these things. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean... there's no suggestion of exclusivity. You know, maybe an Elder Dragon can have lots of champions. The way that the game expresses that, and there's contradictions in different places, is quite variant. Anyway.
Good to see another honest face.
Warmaster Koenig says, welcome to Elder's Vale, the packed space in the north. The food could be better, but the company couldn't. Why'd you build here? This was the best location the Vigil could find for a base of operations, while also keeping us in contact with the local Kodan and Quaggans. Why are Kodan and Quaggan important? We all have something to contribute. If we can get everyone to band together as a team, I'm certain we'll be able to push the dragons back. See, not just the 5 races that we know, but the lesser ones too. I'm sure Casey would have something to say about recruiting the Quaggan. But the food could be better. The ingredients around here don't encourage much experimentation, let's say. It's the same thing every day until the food... Unlike the food in Lion's Arch or Divinity's Reach. Then why build a base? This was the best location, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so anyway, you got that. And then lastly, there's this Char here with lots of chickens who tips you off to go to the next map. If you make any jokes about cats and birds, I'll gut you. Ferocious, we can say, ever hear the riddle about a wolf, a chicken, and a bag of grain? This is the riddle, guys. I don't know what the dialogue is when we click this, right? But this is the riddle where you've got a wolf, a chicken, and a bag of grain. You got to get it across a strait of water onto an island, but you've only got one boat, and you can only take 2 at once. How do you do it, right? If you bring the wolf and the chicken together, the wolf will eat the chicken. You know, who do you leave behind kind of thing? It's a cool riddle, and the trick to the riddle is the same entity has to make 2 trips, right? Even though you wouldn't think that that's logical. Ever hear the riddle about my claw up your... Moving on. You ever see the Flame Legion around here? Less than you'd think. Some Kodan from Honor of the Waves headed over there not too long ago. Anything to escape the Ice Brood, I guess. Seems like it. Be nice to those chickens now. Bye. Look, we have to eat those chickens, okay, Carrot Flower? So yeah, you do hear that, you know, these refugees come from one of the waves. They actually move all the way down into Fireheart. Into Fireheart. And you'll remember that Teryx was looking at some Kodan across like an icy plateau. And I said, oh, we'll look at that later, guys. They'll be important for a different point in the story. Welcome to a different point in the story. I'm going to walk down this road, which is awesome to go in a reverse direction, by the way, and show you what those Kodan are up to. So here we are at Highland Thor. You'll see that there's some Norn warriors around. So there's a beautiful mix here, right?
You are a welcome guest.
Well, we're in an Ascalon map near endgame Char stuff. Flame Legion are near here. But the Kodan are here and the Norn are here as well. So we're guarding the road, keeping a sharp watch out for Jormag's minions. Protect the Kodan if you see any coming. I think this is a really cool area of Guild Wars 2, just because there's so much stuff mixed together. Ancient human ruins with the Norn near here, the Kodan near here. This guy as well.
Must visit more often.
Jormag won't leave these poor Kodan alone. I'm trying to keep the path safe, but I can use any help you can spare. Look at how cool the Norn are here. They're like, the poor Kodan, we'll help them, don't worry, we'll help them. And you know, just like these horrible beliefs that the Kodan have about them, that they're basically failed versions of their own race that are going backwards and on the path to extinction, yeah, right? That's how the Kodan feel about the Norn, and they're being so nice to them and protecting them. I like that the Norn are simple enough to like not let them get in their way, you know. But yeah, so we kind of ignored this place before. Now we can actually have a look. Once again, there's an Asura.
For you and yours. You should have seen the monstrous minotaur we fought for this haul.
Our gratitude is endless. When we're able to return home, you must visit us and let us repay you.
Thanks for the offer, but I'm no traveler. Take care of your people, friend.
Look at this! I mean, you might think I've been a bit harsh to the Kodan throughout this commentary today. There's two sides to them. I do appreciate on the face of it, they're more good than bad, definitely. Anyway, we've been overwhelmed by the number of Kodan refugees arriving. I've been trying to help, but they keep coming. We just caught the end of a dynamic event here, by the way. How can I help? Well, they're low on food, and most were lucky to escape with the clothes on their backs. I see you've been hunting. You got anything to sell? I might be able to sell you something. Take a look. Yeah, so now she sells Minotaur steak. This is a recipe for Minotaur steak that I've actually, in 6 years of playing this game, never bought and never learned. I've never made Minotaur steak. So, here you go, cauliflower. You can learn how to do that. And if one day she becomes a chef and gets to level 275 as a chef, she'll be able to make it herself. Here, the scout.
The Pact are doing all they can to defeat the Flame Legion, but they need help to succeed. Whether it be testing weapons or just smashing heads, there are many things to do.
She's got a beautiful, like, raspy voice. Wow. Anyway, that's Flame Legion. We're not too interested in that. Refugees. Thank Koda the Norn are now among us. This should help correct the balance upset by the presence of the Char. Wait, you have a problem with the Char? We welcome the Norn. We suffer the Char. One is defined not by their neighbors, but by their companions. Very true, goodbye. Now, you might think, wow, I actually love the thought that the Kodan really don't like any Char. But you got to remember, they're near Flame Legion. And the Flame Legion are extremely... Look at this map, right? I know it's frosty here. But this is where we've got lakes of tar and industry and pollution and smog and just all kinds of magical hell stuff mixed into a volcano, an active volcano nearby. I'm sure that would really disgruntle the Kodan, for sure.
Always happy to see customers.
This guy's just a regular vendor, and hey, look, so we're near the end of the game, right? So an orichalcum, harvesting his sickle, logging axe, and pick. With these, cauliflower will now be able to harvest all those things I've been talking about recently, and we'll get rid of these old copper and the dark steel one and that. So now when we return to ore, we'll be able to do those things. That's a nice little thing we'll be able to take with us on this adventure.
Oh, traveler.
When we get back to the big fight. I'm not sure how I feel about all these Kodan. What's the problem? Well, they eat all of our food, for one thing, and they smell like wet bear. Complaining doesn't help anything. You could turn into a bear, man. Surely you'd be all right with it. Maybe there's a couple of other little insights here. Kodan refugee. These are dangerous times. Dangerous times. What's the danger? The ice dragon scattered our sanctuaries across the seas. We fought its minions for centuries, but we were finally forced to seek safe shores and new isles. Yeah, did you guys catch that as well in some of the blog post lore? That these guys live for hundreds of years, right? Like that a claw and a voice can lead for centuries. Or maybe they're separate claws and voices. It's just the titles go on. Anyway, Ice Dragon, Cauliflower says, a monster of ice and snow. Hearing what Jormag is to the Kodan is kind of cool because they've probably interacted with it more than most. It brings cold and ruin to all it touches. Those living things that fall within its grasp become frozen vessels of its will. Sounds dangerous. Good luck. Or they willingly go to it, like the Sons of Svanu. So here's something else I want to show you. I think that's all the dialogue. We've got this Char here, who looks very interesting, right? This person's called Verma Gift Render. You'll notice she's level 80. And she has the tag here, Pact Network Supply Agent. You also see players are running over. So, we did see one of these a while ago. I'll remind you of the feature, because over however many hours this series is, it's going to be easy to forget. If you own one of the expansions, basically, you can unlock access to these vendors. They're called Pact Supply Network Agents. What they do is they travel around Tyria every day, real world. And when you find them, what they're selling changes every day, and their locations change every day. So it's an added bit of flavor. So you'll notice here, she's selling some weird stuff like this recipe for a toxic maintenance oil. Do you remember we had in our inventory these toxic focusing crystals? Well, here's a recipe for an item very similar to that, which I could buy now for karma, and it would cost a lot. We can buy it, we can learn the recipe, and there you go. And the only way really to get that was from this vendor. So it's kind of a fun side of the game where you're traveling around and always things are changing and moving. So yeah, that's the Pact Supply Network Agents. I think last time in the series that I saw one of these NPCs the pact hadn't become a thing in the story yet. So it was like a bit of a spoiler, like, oh, what's the pact? I don't know what the pact is. I only know what the orders are. So I had to kind of be sneaky about it. But now here at the end of the roads, I can talk quite openly. So yeah, here we got a warrior Norn as well. I'm glad we could help the Kodan. Protecting the weak is my kind of job. They don't look very weak, relatively speaking, I mean. Still, it was good to help out those in need. I agree. And maybe one last refugee. This place cannot give us the peace and solitude that our sanctuaries were meant for, but that life may be beyond our reach forever. We must make do. Why is it beyond your reach? Sanctuaries were havens where we worked, lived, and meditated together. But we've been fighting the dragon's minions for centuries. Out here, there's little peace and less solitude, and no one understands balance. Why is balance so important? To live correctly, you must live in balance with the natural world. Of course. Otherwise, you'll only bring out your own misfortune and spread it. It's kind of an idea of karma to a sense as well, right? Like their interpretation of that. Thanks for the information. Goodbye. So there you go, guys. That's and these are like Honor of the Waves refugees, as many are, the Kodan in general. That's this area of the world. That's that race, pretty well detailed. And again, there are some really cool Kodan things, but we'll have to save those for a bit later. I'm going to return to Earthshake now. In about half an hour, this next big meta is going to trigger, and we are going to have to deal with another one of the game's original mega bosses, and indeed, the last one. There were kind of these 3 big dragon engagements around the world, and then there was Ore, which was just a condensed, massive thing full of giant meta events. So, Ore's like a special case. If we ignore Ore, though, you've got kind of these big 3 for dragons. I mean, there's other stuff. There's like the Mega Destroyer and Mount Maelstrom's volcano. Every map's got cool stuff. Anyway. So yeah, I'll see you guys in half an hour. Caraflower's gonna eat some food and get ready. So, we've got just a couple of minutes now. In 3 minutes, I think, it should trigger, so we want to be ready. Commander Caraflower is here. She's ready. She's got set up. We got lots of people to take down this dragon, so this is good. I do want to think about my build, though, so it's going to be very dangerous. Stun breaks and condition cleanse in particular is going to be quite nice to have. And also resustain. So I actually think I'll keep the Signet of Undeath, Signet of Suffering combo. I think that's fine. Oh yeah, I sat on my chair. If you remember, we've never actually seen Caraflower sit in a chair. So there you go. So we'll keep that. But what I am thinking is I'll probably turn off. Well, Parasitic Contagion from Curses still seems like a good idea to me. Maybe we can get rid of Soul Reaping, right? And bring back Death. Take the minion traits again. But then, wait, hold on. Spiteful, Shrouded removal. Lose a condition when you enter Shroud and every few seconds while in Shroud. Okay, let's run this. So what this will mean is if we get feared, this dragon will be very scary and fear us. I can go into Shroud and immediately cleanse myself. So that's pretty good. As for the other traits, I don't know. Let's pick up a new Death Magic Grandmaster, shall we? Seems like a good time for it. Corruptor's Fervor. Inflict a condition. Grants stacking toughness and reduced incoming condi damage. So that sounds pretty cool, and that goes with our curses idea, like a death curses person. Thing is, I don't know how much the boss is really going to do. I don't know how much that will help. The other one we've got is Unholy Sanctuary. Regenerate health while in Shroud. And if we have a certain amount of life force and we die, instead of dying, we just go into Shroud again. So, for example, if I double tap this and leave, if we die now, I automatically go into Shroud. Over here on the right, you saw we just got 2 reward tracks unlocked. This one here says reward track unlocked Reaper. We got that because we just maxed out Necromancer. Necro is now 100% finished in preparation for this big fight. We've had a lot of challenges here. There you go. You've seen everything. You've seen Signets, Corruptions, Minions, Wells, Spectrals, Spike, Curses, Death Magic, Blood Magic, Soul Reaping. Everything is done for Necro now, and you have seen it in general. I mean, there's some skills we haven't cast. All that's left are elite specializations, but those, my friends, will have to wait for the expansions. So, yeah, that's awesome. And I think our build will be okay now with this. Maybe one extra thing I can do is Flesh Worm, which we can cast and later teleport to keep ourselves safe. So we'll cast it there, for example, and if the dragon's going to kill us, we can hide over here. All right, so it will be dangerous. I'm actually in some ways more scared of this than the dungeon, just because it's harder to prep. All right, here we go. 1 minute until it starts. And I want to look in the sky and see what we can find. As we look very carefully, he should make himself known, and we should hear some NPCs nearby start speaking. So, let's see. You also notice on the map, everybody's spreading out here across lots of different areas. The fight actually goes to quite a range. Here you go. Oh, God, it landed right next to us.
They're coming for the main gates. We'll be cut off from the forward camps.
Okay, alright, cool. So the vigil spoke, and here we go. It begins. So, a Claw of Jormag has bombarded this area with corruption, and ice brood are spreading from the dragon crystals left in its wake. Group event, destroy the dragon's crystal at Elder's Vale. And you can see, these are all elites, guys. Elite Goliaths, they're over level 80, level 82. Way more dangerous than what we saw in the dungeon. And once again, there's a big crystal. This is just like what we saw at Honor the Waves, right? And so the start of this event is to destroy the crystals that it's dropped. So one crystal just ended there, and you saw we helped cleave some stuff out. If I come up, what I really want to do is use this vista.
Lead runners to the forward bases.
So we've got the crystals, and you've got to destroy them all to lure out the main dragon. And here you can see they broke another one on that vista there. I want to over there near where we're watching with the vista. I really want to see the dragon land on the vista. You just saw it swoop on the top right a little bit. Here we go. Land. Land, damn it. I have to see this. Because very few of the other bosses have got vistas that watch that stuff. I think we did it too early. Let's try it again. Here, so... Oh, no, hold on. A Claw of Jormag has bombarded this area with corruption. Here you go. Another crystal he's just dropped down there. It seems every time he swings through, so we can watch it this time. I'll cancel that. I want to watch for the end moment here in a second. The pact is rallying against the spreading ice brood and destroying the last crystal. I think that last crystal may be a little bit more deadly. We get 15 minutes to clear this. If we didn't have any players here, we wouldn't be able to break the crystals and the boss wouldn't spawn at all. But because we've done that, that's kind of the opening phases.
It'll be coming over those mountains any second now. I just know it.
Okay, the NPCs say it's coming over the mountains. All right, we'll just wait for it.
Eyes to the sky. Keep the dragon in your sights.
All right, so the next phase, by stopping its corruptive crystals, the pact has lured a Claw of Jormag from the sky, and now everyone must rally to defeat the beast. There it is. It just flew around behind that mountain there. And there it is.
Yikes is shielding it from our attacks. Break the barrier. Some of you on the cannons. Arrest. Get up that hill.
So he does look totally different to the other dragons we've seen so far.
Defend the cannons. Don't go after it unequipped. Guns and grenades are here at the base.
Once again, he has multiple different hitboxes and things that we can aim at, and there's lots of mechanics to get into.
Incoming. Defend the cannons.
So, as you can hear that guy's wailing instructions out, let's go deal with it now. So, this will actually spread now. So the event started here, now we're going to move over to the first phase. You'll see it says to use experimental packed weapons against the Claw. Remember the 3 Gs? So the first bit we have to deal with is destroying this corrupted ice shield. The game right now is he has this ice wall in front of him, protecting him from all damage. But if we walk too close to the wall, and here's where I'm going to create my flesh worm, okay? If we walk just straight up to him and try and hit the wall, which you might like to do, right? We do condi damage, so it's kind of dangerous. You'll see I'm getting this thing. First I got feared away, right? So we're going to teleport away. But we also get this debuff here, Icy Grave. The ground near the dragon is deathly cold, and you're more vulnerable to ice each second. So basically, standing near him freezes you to death. It gets worse. It's like he's doing a condition to you, but it's not really a condition. And you start freezing worse and worse and worse. He has these massive blowouts where he tries to push you away. So the question is, how do you break the ice wall? Well, a lot of people just stand on this spot here, which is a safe spot. The devs forgot to plaster when creating it. And you can attack from here, which is what you've seen everyone's done. And now the ice wall's broken. So that's way number 1 to deal with it.
Down. Strike now while it's stunned.
And so the wall is down. He goes into a vulnerable burn phase, and we get to do our pressure. Here he does take condition damage, so I'm going to run up. I'm going to cast Plague Lands. If we stand in the right place, we can hit both his head and his hand at the same time, which is pretty nice. And we just try and do as much damage as possible. Hopefully we don't burn him all the way through 50% here. It looks like we might. Jesus Christ. At 50%, the fight changes completely. We're going to do it. We're going to do it 1 burn. Amazing.
Get those flak cannons firing.
Okay. All right. Maybe we're not going to do it in 1 burn. Is he coming back? All right. So he jumps on that rock and moves on. Look at that. Incredible. But the idea here is you got these Charzukas, right? And you're meant to pick these up. And these have a really high range. They have 2,000 range, which is normal, higher than most ranges of things in the game. And what you do with 2,000 range is you can stand back here pew-pewing away. And this is what breaks the wall.
The cannons have been adjusted. This time we'll bring it down. For good. Here it comes. Fire away.
So when you get into 50%, they siege the hell out of it. And he crashes down. How cool is that? And lands all the way over there into the new phase, the final phase. So yeah, you're supposed to use the bazookas. I wanted to show you that. But there you go. You also get a skill 2.
Time to see who's
moving. The wall's down.
Let's see if it
Strike
likes
now
the
while
taste
it's
of
stunned.
explosives.
Use the terrain to our advantage. Protect the golems.
which lets you leap from side to side. And you also get this crucial skill here as well called Heat Shield, which gives you the ability to cleanse that frost that I was talking about on you before. So that saves you from that. Yeah, so he comes crashing through. He hits this wall as well, by the way. And if you're standing at the wall when he crashes onto it, he kind of blows up. And my God, look how much damage they did there. Jesus Christ, they almost killed him instantly. That is a very deadly Zerg. My God. He crashes into the wall. You actually get a hidden achievement. I don't have time to explain the whole fight to you all. So, yeah, then you've got the second phase, which is now, you're not actually meant to have Charzukas anymore. You can hold one, which is what I'm doing here. But the idea is, you see the golems that the Pact were talking about before?
What's the legends?
Knowledge is the greatest treasure.
What happens is the golems march down this central pathway, and you're supposed to escort them, and eventually the golems blow up on the claw, thus creating a new burn phase. And you can, so here you can you see these defensive shields, these PM636Zs? They're walking along, and you're meant to give them swiftness and blocks and stuff, and they blow up on the claw, slowly doing damage. And that's the idea, but we've done so much damage, we insta-killed him! Instantly! Here you see I'm still taking icy grave damage. My God! Wow, I mean, Jesus. So there is definitely reason for this to be updated, I think. And look at all the loot we get. Just incredible amounts of loot from this. Wow, that did not go at all how I was expecting. At all. I would wait and reshoot this entire video for you, to be honest. You know, wait for him to respawn wait another 3 hours or so and hope it goes better next time. But people might just destroy it again. I can't believe how strong we all were. So yeah, there you go. That's the Claw of Jormag. That's 2019 Claw of Jormag. What can I say? You get a ton of loot from the chest at the end. And by killing him here, that is also then what triggers the Icy Runestone Vendor higher up. There's some other mechanics as well, like these rocks here. Loads of ice elementals are supposed to spawn. And people are supposed to sort of stay together and heal up. It's a cool fight. Thinking about the first encounter here as well, though, it's kind of been bugged for years and broken. The whole point is to use the bazookas, but because you're safe on this little spot up here on this rock, there's never any reason to use the bazookas, really. You can just stand and be safe. So I feel like the devs should have patched this out ages ago, but they never did. So it's kind of whatever in the end, right? But wow, I'm extremely impressed with everyone. Usually that encounter takes ages and ages and ages, but people absolutely devastated him. It's probably because I'm playing prime time at the moment. Well, actually, no, I'm on EU, not North America. But there you go. Does anyone unlock any new dialogue here, I wonder, right in the aftermath of the battle? Let's see. Agent Henley? No, he's just got what he said before. This guy's dialogue's the same. It says, teach me. I think we pretty much got all of it, guys. So there you go. That's the breaking the Claw of Jormag. And that's how the fight works. 2 different phases in 2 different areas. Lots of beautiful animations. Hopefully seeing the vista was fun. And with that, I think Caraflower has done most of her adventuring up the north. There's a few more sanctuaries and things she might like to visit on her way back down south. But that will have to be adventures for another day. Thanks, guys. Let's return to Trahearne and to our main story, which is meeting Kecht. Once again, with the Priory, Kecht returns outside the Garden of Ilya. And that missing squad in that room, I remember. Huh. Well, one of the final acts of the game is about to begin. I'll see you guys for that next time. Let it be me, mighty Koda, that gives his life for knowledge. Let it be me that dies so that truth can survive. Let it be me that rejoins with nature, knowing that I have looked into your eyes and brought back wisdom for my people. For such is the journey of a shaman. Such is the path of the voice. The voice is a spiritualist, chosen for their innate, deep connection to Koda and their understanding of his will. A combination of high priest and record keeper, the voice maintains a memorized record of all things of great import that have occurred to the Kodan of his sanctuary, and passes that history down to a successor when he is near his death. Because the voice is attended by a small staff of shamans, even if he dies prematurely, most of the knowledge will not be lost. However, as the voice rarely leaves his ritual chambers, it is an extremely uncommon occurrence that the voice leaves his post from anything but the passing of his claw, hopefully after several hundred years of service to their people. It is the voice's duty to seek and interpret the will of Koda, and to bring spiritual guidance to the Kodan of his sanctuary. In these things, the voice is all-knowing and blessed, possessed of supernatural knowledge, authority, and freedom from any error and sin. They can sanction laws, proclaim judgments on a grand scale, and interpret Koda's will in any situation. Unfortunately, The rituals and path working that a voice must go through in his duties, and the simple fact that their mind is always open to the mists, means that the voice can become unstable. Only through the will of Koda does a voice remain grounded and able to do his duty. It is the Claw's logical interpretation of the voice's mysticism that provides structure and lore for the sanctuary as a whole. It is rare, but not unheard of, that a voice might be so completely overcome by the visions that they go insane, a sickness known as the Rage of Koda. This is called a time of trial by the Kodan, who believe that it means Koda is personally testing their spirituality and the strength of their sanctuary. Usually the voice dies only a few years after a time of trial occurs, as their body shuts down from the strain and the insanity. At that point, the sanctuary is believed to be purified of all sin, judged, and set to order by Koda himself.
I'm interested in how this Koda of yours guides you.
It may take several lifetimes before you start understanding. We are as close to divinity as you can get without transcending from this world.
Divinity? Really?
Our leaders, Claw and Voice, are intertwined. One is the body, one the spirit. We need both to absorb Koda's will.